update for January 2017. I'm Megan Pembroke, Communications Director for the City of Everett. Each month we sit down with Mayor Ray Stephanson to talk about issues and projects that are important to you. Well, Mayor,
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's our first program of 2017.
Yeah. Gosh, where does the time fly?
I don't know.
It just seemed like it was 2016 7 days ago. I don't know. I don't know.
We have a lot to look forward to this year, a lot to talk about.
We do.
And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But I wanted to start by talking about our Safe Streets Plan, which we often open with, and specifically our supportive housing project, where we're working to build a facility that will house 70 chronically homeless individuals. And the project reached a major milestone right at the end of 2016. Can you share what that was and some of the other updates on the project?
Sure. So what I'm finding in the housing world is it's a very competitive process, but we asked for money in the Housing Trust Fund, which is managed by the Department of Commerce. And the supportive housing project scored very, very well in that project and was awarded $2.45 million. And that goes a long way to begin to build the capital necessary to build the 70 units. So a huge milestone. And looking forward to 2017, where we've got some other funding opportunities like tax credits to look forward to. So we're aggressively finding every source of revenue we can. And I'd mentioned this earlier, if you remember, that much of the capital will come from grants in private sector to build housing. So we don't have to go directly to the community and ask for a huge capital ask. And I think that that's really important. So I really think Everett and Snohomish County are sort of coming of age and knowing how the system works and asking for our fair share from the state's perspective. So what we've decided to do is to communicate to over 1,200 residents in the 3 neighborhoods near the project, the proposed project for supportive housing. We'll start the SEPA process very soon, but we decided to, as you know, to go out early and let everyone in that surrounding area know that, giving them an update on the funding, telling them that the SEPA process has started. We're early, which is good, but we want a very robust comment period so people feel like they have an opportunity to make comment. So that letter should be in people's homes by now, and I'm hoping people will take the time and be thoughtful about it and make comment. We also provide that communication in Spanish because we know we have a fairly strong Spanish-speaking community in that neighborhood. So we want to make sure that we get a maximum input that we can.
Great, and we have all the information about the SEPA process on our website, everettwa.gov/housing first, and people can submit comments there, as you said.
Right.
And then the other thing we'll be starting in early 2017 is a stakeholder group that you'd mentioned last fall. Can you talk a little bit about who you hope to have on the group and what kind of input you hope they'll provide?
Well, we've got sort of the confluence of 4 neighborhoods, and what we want to do, and it's a neighborhood, it's an area, geographic area that's sort of bordered by a neighborhood for the supportive housing. It's bordered by mixed-use development to the west and to the south and to the north. There's another neighborhood sort of northeast. So we want the stakeholder group to really look like the community that resides there, either lives there or works there. So residential community members, small and medium-sized business owners. We want faith-based community, really anyone who has an interest in providing input as to how we will integrate this housing into this geographic area. Are there things that we should be focused on in terms of improvements to the area? Are there services that we should be mindful of? Obviously, policing is a huge issue, and police presence. And I know that that's a priority for me. I know it's a priority for the neighbors there. So it will really be an opportunity to really learn firsthand what people's concerns are and what their ideas are to address those concerns as we move forward.
Great, and we've had a lot of success with similar groups,
We have.
particularly the one that we've worked with at Smith Avenue.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, and then the other thing we announced related to Safe Streets right at the end of 2016 was that HopeWorks is going to be taking over our work crew program, which has had some great success. Can you talk a little bit about that and why we think that's such a great partnership?
Well, HopeWorks is really an offshoot of Housing Hope. It's sort of the job-based component of putting people back to work who have struggled, who may have been homeless, who have lost their job. It gives them real life skills in terms of retail and landscaping and other critical skills that and services that are needed for our community. So we really thought that it made a whole lot of sense to contract with someone who really understood this and could grow this part of the Streets Initiative process. And if you remember, the work crew is really designed as alternative way to complete whatever sentencing or fine you may have had because of a minor crime. We're not putting hardened criminals out in the street, but it does give people who have an opportunity, who may have trespassed, minor shoplifting, that really have no means of paying a fine, and it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to put them behind bars, to give them a way to give back. And so for HopeWorks to be successful in wanting to be part of this and run this program for us, it just makes a whole lot of sense. I really liken it to the whole issue around supportive housing. As I've mentioned before, we're not housing experts. There are people like Catholic Housing Services, and I know Lutherans do this as well. Probably Catholic Housing Services is a premier agency in the state and country. They really know how to do this. They do it well. They know how to integrate the supportive services. So I think it always makes sense to let the experts do it. And in the area of the streets cleanup process and the work that HopeWorks is doing, it just seems like a perfect fit.
Yeah, that was a great partnership.
It is.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Well, Mayor, it's January, so it's a good time to look at what we've got coming up. And before we look locally, I know this month we provided an update to City Council on the upcoming legislative session and the topics that we'll be watching. Can you give us a preview of what you expect to see this legislative session and what the city will be keeping an eye on?
Sure. I think that we're going to see 2 or 3 special sessions. I really think the legislature will be in session right up to the end of June. I'm sure they've thought about it as well. But there's a lot of business, and probably top of the list for the state is McCleary and K-12 education and how to make sure that it's fully funded and it meets really the order of the state Supreme Court. That's going to be a big issue. And not only is that just huge financially, all the issues that we've been working on with Safe Streets, chemical dependency, mental illness, treatment facilities, support for housing, all of those are really financially driven decisions that require legislative support and help. And so the governor, to his credit, has really been pushing and promoting the need to refund a lot of programs that got defunded during the recession, and good for him. I really appreciate him doing that. But it's really going to require us in the city of Everett, as well as other municipalities, to be partners, to advocate for this with our legislators, to push legislation that supports helping the less fortunate in our community. So these are really, really big ticket issues. I say that every year probably, and you know the state legislature does a 2-year budget process, and then mid-year they sort of do an update, which they did in 2016. But this is, I can't ever remember having such big financially driven issues in front of us. And if you remember, the governor proposed some new taxes that, I mean, are pretty monumental and taxing that hasn't occurred with certain industries before. And I think all of that needs to stay on the table. We need to be real clear-eyed about it, very thoughtful about it, and provide the support and help that municipalities need and our citizens need. I mean, I think we're really talking about our collective quality of life, and we're talking about helping people who have struggled for a long, long time. We see the devastation of addiction. We see the devastation of mental health issues. We cannot continue to ignore these issues as a society. We just have to step forward and find the best path forward to proactively deal and help people who are desperately in need.
And I know we have a lot of requests that we'll be watching in that area. We'll also be paying close attention to WSU. And there's a couple of requests that they are making this year. Can you talk through some of those?
Well, I believe the governor included the funding to start medical education. In fact, I know he did in his budget, and the legislature will have to act on that. We want to continue to expand STEM degree offerings. There are some certificate programs that would allow potential workers in the STEM field to get a certificate that would get them into level entry technical jobs. And there's a lot of jobs in the state that go unfilled because we don't have qualified people. And we want to see a lot of Everett residents, Snohomish County residents, take advantage of programs like that and to get that training and get the career and family-raised jobs that they really deserve. So it's going to be a tall, again, I mean, it's all about money, right? It's all about taxes and all the while, we always in the cities and counties worry that are some of these programs going to be funded at our expense? And that's just the danger of being at the bottom of the food chain when it comes to government spending. And because, you know, the federal government can go to the state can go to local government. We have nowhere to go. So we really have to be partners in this, in my view, to make this all work successfully.
Well, great. I know that we'll probably be talking about this a lot as the session gets underway. Well, and then on a local level, we have a lot of really positive things to look forward to this year. Some major projects that are either getting underway or opening, and then some city projects that I think our citizens are going to be really excited about. Can you talk through some of those? Sure.
So isn't it great to have a brand new hotel downtown? I mean, that's just so cool. We look out our window from work and we can see it. It's pretty awesome. And you know what that tells me, and then the Holiday Inn down near I-5 and Pacific is going through a major renovation. Red Lion just did a renovation out near the college. You got student housing that's come out of the ground with more plans. So I really see a very strong and remarkable economy right now that's really based on some really solid economic factors, like very strong retail Christmas season. I mean, it was over 4% increase over last year. Housing values increased. Now, that's good if you want to sell your home. It's bad if you're trying to rent something or buy something. And so we have a huge, even though we've had a very robust housing market, we need to do more. We need to build more. We need to build more affordable housing. I believe in the next 15, 20 years, we're headed for a huge crisis if we don't start addressing this issue now. And I'm mindful of what's happened in Seattle and what we're now seeing in Everett as we see this huge housing crisis for the homeless. So those are issues that we've been working on and addressing. And as we look forward to next year, we've got some really remarkable positive projects. We got significant state and federal funding to redo Rucker Avenue and finish Hoyt. So the improvements that our citizens have seen on Hoyt near the Shack Arts Center and the library, very pedestrian oriented, that kind of a development will start this year. I can make sure I write 2017 on my checkbook. But it'll start this year, and really we'll see Rucker evolve as a very pedestrian-friendly oriented street, which is huge. We're going to see in the spring the pedestrian utility bridge at the north end of Grand Avenue Park. It's great to see all the development occurring down at Waterfront Place for the Port of Everett. I've been watching the old purse-seining pier being removed, and I worked on those piers and on fishing boats in the early 1960s, and I don't know how long those docks were there before that, but really old, and to see this new development come out, and of course Riverfront. The last count, I think 13 homes sold at the Simpson site. I'm starting to see the development occur at the Eclipse Mill site, which is the north end of the Riverfront development. And then this year we should have a major announcement on what's going to occur on the old landfill site, which is going to be a mixed-use retail development. So those are great projects. The widening of intersections that's occurring to help freight come out of Everett to the Boeing plant is happening at West Marine View Drive and Rucker Pacific, 41st and Rucker. It's been a bit of a nightmare sort of navigating through that, but those will be great projects as well. So I think a lot of really positive things happening in the private sector. Fortive last year located their headquarters here. This is a spin-off of Danaher and Fluke. We competed very hard to get that headquarter here, and to see them coming out of the ground and bringing new people here is really encouraging. The 1 million square foot building that for the wing fabrication for 777X is done, and they're beginning to really transform the floor of these huge manufacturing centers to be more robotic and more state-of-the-art in terms of building airplanes. And the aerospace industry and frankly the economy, it goes up and down a little bit, but I think all the signs economically are really strong, both privately and publicly. And I think the other thing to assure our citizens is, we led and managed through the worst recession in any of our lifetime from 2008 really all the way through 2016. And I think we learned a lot of hard lessons. We know how to do this. We have strong reserves. I have every confidence, whatever the economy throws at us, we will manage through it as a team, and we will provide great service, and we'll do what we have to do to be successful. But I think we're really positioned very, very well.
Great. Well, thank you, Mayor. There's a lot of announcements coming up this year,
Yes.
A lot of exciting stuff that I think our community is really going to enjoy.
And let's see, the days are getting longer too, right?
Yes.
After, what is that, December 19th or 20th? It sort of turns the other way, so.
Yes, we're headed into the sunnier season.
Yeah, I think it's lighter by seconds right now, but pretty soon it'll be minutes.
We'll take it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us. We hope you'll be back again in February.